I don't know who just told me to say this, but it wasn't my voice in my head, but it just told me to say this because I've been freely talking out loud to everything. Like my coffee, as I was making it, I was talking to the sugar, and I was talking to the creamer, and I was talking to the things because all particles and all those things were not just once what or weren't what they are now. They're all condensed things from something that was once living. Almost everything was from something that was once living. It's crazy. But anyway, it's not what my phone just went black. Oh, hold on. But the whole theory or the idea or the way people word it as Earth being a simulation, and I mean, yes, it is in a way, but the difference is, of course, it's not like when we say simulation. See, that's a hard word for me to say. Simulation, we think of like on TV where you're acting out something that was already done. I mean, this was already done 1,000 times. Whatever you're doing is done. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you're experiencing it right now. So we're not trying to discredit anything that people are doing. I mean, I don't think, and when I say we, I don't mean me. I mean everything, everyone. Like, this is the reason we're doing this. But anyway, I don't mean to say stuff like that. I have to clarify myself to get myself back on track, and I'm just going. And until I lose my spot, sometimes I record, or else I'll forget the topic because I'm sitting outside and I'll see a bird, and I was talking about creamer and coffee, and I had to pause it for a second because I was like, what the hell was I talking about? Anyway, I don't know who it was or what it was, but basically it was trying to explain to me that the simulation isn't just that we are, a game playing it out. Each of us are experiencing this in a physical way, in a physical simulation. It's not. We are here putting on. Some of us write scripts and we put on plays, yes, but before our awareness is there, it's really serious to us. Like we're a 5-year-old in a play, and then if you're in the Master House Theater or whatever it's called, you go to the theater as an adult, and depending on your intelligence level, or even as a child, you know that it's almost like life. You can choose what you want to do and basically go that direction. Like if you want to be a singer, you can't become a singer unless you start going in the direction of what a singer would do to become a singer. You don't just stand around saying I want to be a singer and poof. You have to at least sing in front of some people, or say if you want to be a acrobat, you have to take the steps that an acrobat would take to become an acrobat. You can't just want to be it and just expect for it to poof be an acrobat. You got to take those steps, and it's not that hard. You basically write your own play and then do it. If you write it down, that's why they say write stuff down, because it's almost like you're writing your script. But the simulation in a physical sense, it's not to be discredited. Like, yes, take it very seriously because shit hurts, But at the same time, once you get past the pain of those things, I mean, don't put yourself in the line of getting hurt all the time on purpose. Take necessary risks, and sometimes by all means, have fun and take some extreme risks if you want to be one of those kind of people. I like to sometimes, but I want to make sure that I'm around for my kids and around for the world for a long time to come. So I'm not going to do anything too extreme where I could possibly die easily. But I do want to do a lot of stuff like bungee jumping and skydiving and all that kind of stuff still. But right now I'm working this bread route and playing out this role for a little bit longer because I need to find a way to get it covered, or, I don't want to sell it. I like it. But at the same time, I want to do music and I want to do my books, and I mean, I'm going to do it all. And whether people say I can or not, I'll find a way to fit it all in. I'm just learning how to manage my time and focus. I could do all of them as long as I focus on each of them at the right time. So anyway, the simulation, sorry I went off on a tangent again. I looked over at my work truck and I just went off on about working as a bread guy. So anyway, the simulation is really just, we're here to learn. So it's not simulation per se. It's like, say, our higher selves that projected ourselves here to experience this basically knew what we were getting into, but couldn't really tell once we lost contact with knowing who we truly were, what direction we would go. So we had like an idea with what we wanted to do. So that's why we have these notions of what we should do with our life. Each of us have this weird notion. Some of us feel like we have nothing because we're almost playing a side role. So we stumble through life, whatever, and we agree to help somebody else with their role by being a lesson. By being a lesson, you could somehow just be, I hate to say it, like a slave, an addict of some sort, an abuse victim, a starving child. I hate to say any of those things because I feel so bad for all of them, but that's sort of like what you do. You come down here to play a role, to teach a lesson, and if you don't really write it out, even in real life, if you don't write it out, you don't know where you're going to go, or at least start telling yourself where you're going to go. You don't have to necessarily write it out, but why not? I mean, you can even talk it into a phone like I do, but either way. So if you don't plan what you're going to do, you're not going to go anywhere. So even before you come here as an astral or higher than astral being, a soul being, a beyond soul being, the entity of entities that broke up into all these different particles and pieces that became all these different things, that knew what it was getting into, but didn't have any idea what it, once it got into it, what it would do, because it gave free will, which means forgetting. So you have to remember. But that whole thing gets oversaid so much that people don't get it. So I'm trying to say it in a clearer way, and I just got like to explain the simulation. Did I say it right? Simulation? Yeah, I said simulation. You give me a simulation, huh? A simulation. But see, don't be afraid to put yourself at risk in something you believe in, but don't put yourself at risk for something that you, in your existence, feel is wrong. If you feel it's wrong to do it, don't do it. If you feel it's right to do it and it seems wrong to other people, do it. I know it sounds bad, but there is no good or bad. And at the same time, you have to know what's not wrong or right, but at the same time, people will do all kinds of crazy stuff, suicides, mass homicides, all kinds of crazy things. And why do they do it? They're here for a lesson. And they didn't know what their lesson was, and some of them go through life not knowing. Some of them all of a sudden snap and say that something's telling them to do it, or they got a tumor, or, whatever. It shows up as whatever, and that's why it happens. And I don't mean to be so blunt, but I'm using easy, small examples so that I can explain it easier, because that's really, it sounds so simple, and it sounds woo-woo, but it's not at all. It's very true. And I don't know how to say it in a way that people believe me. If it wasn't me telling my mom and dad, if it was some professor in a suit and tie, they'd probably believe him and be like, oh, and be more interested in it. If it was my kids hearing somebody else tell them, or they got into hearing some stories of other people doing whatever, things that I'm not even going to say they're less than the things that I've experienced, but I think every person who has this experience thinks that their experience was so mind-blowing that nobody else could have experienced it. And the thing is, it's true, because it's their own brain depicting what their own brain would figure as the most amazing, mind-blowing thing. And their tests and their lessons are all going to appear in their own ways, in physical and astral and dream and all the different realms of reality. There's so many dimensions. There's billions of them, and I haven't even got maybe 10. I've probably seen a whole bunch of them, or maybe woven in and out of them, but I'm not sure how it really, really works. I want to get a master in the astral, an astral master, to follow along and teach me, but it's like I sort of just go wherever I go, because I haven't really pinpointed what I want to do with that, because at first I wanted to get powers, and I got scared because I thought I was being killed, and I had to face my darkest fears, and I said, yeah, I'm ready for that. And I didn't think it would portray any of the things that I didn't know I had, those darkest, nastiest, horrible, most heinous things in my head. But I think we all do. And once you start getting into it, it makes you think more deep into it, and you go as deep as you can go until you almost think you're done, and then you're just like, holy shit, that was awesome, because I learned from it. And this is crazy, because I just said something. I was talking to the universe, and I said, give me a sign. It did the whole 1, 2, 3 birds thing. And I threw out a whole bunch of loaves of bread, or I threw out slices of bread. And I said, to show me, have this red bird land in the middle. And it didn't quite land in the middle, but it landed in the big tree right on the leaf, or on the branch that's normal. Anyway, that's really the basic to do about the simulation. It was just a voice that sort of said it real quick, and it sounds sort of funny to say it said it real quick, but it said it in, maybe it sounded like in our time, like 3 seconds, but it was, story form, if that makes any sense, but it probably doesn't to other people. It makes sense to me. So anyway, I love you, and now it's time to mess around with my mixer and my mic looper and all my awesome new stuff. Yeah!